Hi, my name's Richard. A little bit about myself. I am a British Army veteran. Whilst serving in the military, I took part in operations in Afghanistan, Iraq and Northern Ireland, as well as travelled around the globe. After leaving the military 10 years ago, by trade I'm a telecommunications engineer and a project manager. So I've taken part in work around the world in other countries such as Malaysia, Afghanistan, again, Saudi Arabia and other places within Europe. Here today to give my opinion or my point of view on what I think is happening over the last couple of weeks around racism and how I think politics hijacks the issue, manipulates people or uses them to achieve a political gain. Alright then, so what is racism? So by very definition, it's prejudice, discrimination or antagonism directed against a person or people on the basis of their membership of a particular racial or ethnic group, typically one that is a minority. So based on that statement, racism has to be omnidirectional. Usually in the direction from the majority to the minority, and without doubt in the UK the majority of people are white. So that means that the majority of racism is directed from white people towards non-white people. However, it's also true that certain areas of the UK have a non-white majority, and by very definition, racism is also true here, albeit in the other direction. Right, so this statement's important to what I'm about to say. The reason it's important is I feel it gives me, as a white person, qualification to speak about the subject, yet if only from my perspective. So I don't feel I can speak from any other perspective of anybody else. So this is solely my point of view, of which I've learned from speaking to friends of all colours and ethnicities, as well as being very well travelled through my working career. Okay, so is the UK racist? Question one. From my point of view, but not as a member of the majority, but as an observer, no, I don't believe it is. Reason being, all working class people, whether they be male, female, gay, straight, Muslim, Jewish, Christian, black, white, Asian, whatever, all start with the same level of education, which creates the same opportunity as we grow up. I've got friends from school from ethnic minorities who have been more successful than I have, based on the same level of opportunity, and vice versa. The only difference being the choice of path chosen or the amount of work that individual has put into what he's doing. I feel that these opportunities only differ when money gets involved. So the opportunities are greater for people who can afford a better standard of education, or they receive introductions to stronger networks which will be advantageous to them as they grow up. So there's definitely a division, a divide of money or class within the UK. And again, this is obviously heavily tipped towards the ethnic group who holds the majority within the country, so white people. Yet it's not exclusive to them at all. There's plenty of people who aren't white that are rich and their children get the same opportunities that other rich families are able to provide. So having said that, my conclusion is no, the UK is not racist. But moving on from that, does systemic racism exist in the UK? Yeah, it does, absolutely. However, I've had to go away and educate myself on this, being white, as I believe that the direction in modern society, from my perspective anyway, is that there is no systemic racism against white people, or I've not experienced it. Therefore, I hadn't recognised what it was. So through speaking to several friends of different backgrounds, I've come to understand it to mean when racism becomes normal within our language or everyday actions, due to its normality, it goes unrecognised by the vast majority of people. So, for example, common name when I was growing up for my local corner shop was the Packy Shop. I feel uncomfortable saying that now, which is a good thing. And same as the common name for local Chinese takeaways is a Chinky. funnily enough, I don't feel as uncomfortable saying that, but that's probably because it hasn't been recognised, although it's an example of the same thing. So now that I understand it, I've been able to come away from it. Now, the key to coming away from it is, as I've just said, through knowledge and understanding. And to be able to understand is important because I feel us as adults, we hold responsibility to educate our children. And this needs to fade through generations. It's not going to happen overnight, of course, and we've been coming a long way, but education's definitely key. The key to being able to understand, I believe, is to be able to listen and learn from each other. So that includes people from ethnic minorities also listening to the ethnic majority on their view, because white people also experience racism, as I explained through its very definition, around mob mentality or the majority against the minority, which, as I've said, is the case in certain areas of the UK. Now, having said this and being able to recognise this as an issue within the UK, I feel that we as a country have definitely come on leaps and bounds over the last several decades, and I think that most people will agree with that, because I can't see an argument against that. But again, my point of view only. But absolutely, definitely, we've still got a long way to go. However, I also feel every now and again we take a massive step backwards due to the manipulation of a situation that actually happens quite often, and I'm not saying that it's a good thing because it's not a good thing, but they do unfortunately happen quite often, and then it's been manipulated for political gain, which will lead me on to my next point. So, political manipulation. What is it? So let me explain what I think democracy is, first of all. So the very essence of democracy, at least, in my opinion, it's division. So left versus right, capitalist versus socialist, Tory versus Labour here in the UK, or Democrat versus Republican in the US. So to be able to keep that balance of people on either side of the coin, I believe that people as a whole need to be manipulated into taking a side, and I feel the way this is done is through giving individuals a label. So for example, I'm white, that's my label. Somebody else might be black, Asian, gay, straight, etc. As I've went through the labels before, and if you've noticed, the labels keep getting added as well. It used to be gay and straight, and it was LGBT, LGBTQ, which I'm not sure what that stands for, and now there's a plus on the end of it. So it's just creating more and more minorities. And then all that does is it forces people to relate to one of these labels and then take that as their identity. Now, that identity will normally fit in a narrative on what side you should sit on. So I feel that the narrative dictated at the moment is, so on the left would be liberals and ethnic minorities, and then on the right would be what people class as patriots, which has also been hijacked. So I believe if the word patriot means racist now, which isn't actually the case, but it's been hijacked to do that, as well as an ethnic majority. So they guys sit on the right. Now this sounds stupid, it sounds stupid to me as well, and in reality, I think if left to our own devices without manipulation, we'd simply, those interested in politics anyway, would simply take the side based on our life experience, regardless of any label given to us. So how did they do this? Right, so old tactics is divide and conquer, or divide and rule, and then order through chaos. So let's break this down. So divide and conquer. I feel it's quite easy. They'll take an event that happens that can be argued to be a hate crime based on a divisive issue. So, i.e. racism. And as an example, based on current events, we'll use the George Floyd incident. Then to create this division, that incident will be manipulated and broadcast all over the world. It'll arouse anger, inevitably, and the consequence of perceived division of race or a side. It makes you take a side. The way to portray this anger as a group in a democracy, I think, is to protest peacefully, which is what happened. So these protests, and the majority of people that are protesting peacefully, so I'll say Black Lives Matter as it first started, they were hijacked by activists. The intention of these activists is to arouse more anger through their actions, with the consequence of more division. The way this happened, with this example in the UK, was through violence, criminal damage of sacred memorials, so war memorials that people like myself and other groups, especially the veterans and normal people, find like really sacred in this country and in the US as well as the demand from these groups via a hashtag spread throughout social media to kneel in solidarity. Now we all know that kneeling is it's submission. It's not equal on any shape or form. Now, what was happening in the UK, especially as I'm from the UK, was the police were getting involved with this on a political level. So they weren't seen to be protecting the monuments against the activists, yet they were kneeling in front of crowds of Black Lives Matter protesters. This is then recorded and spread around, and again it causes more anger and divide, and inevitably there's going to be a reaction to this. So the following weekend, which they knew this was going to happen, of course they did, the reaction from the opposite side. So what happened here was the vast majority of people again came down to protest peacefully and show their distaste, or in this example they wanted to protect the war memorials. So a group of veterans came down and they were just going to put a ring around the war memorials, not get involved in anything like that, violence or anything like that, just peacefully there to protect. And they were doing this because they felt that the police were incompetent through their actions the week before. What we were showed on the news was police kneeling, as I've said, and running away from these rioters, which in reality the police should have riot kit on and dealing with the incident properly. But again, the peaceful side of it comes bad elements. So in this case, it's far right activists. They're hidden within the protesters, and their sole purpose is to come down and create chaos again. And you're seeing this chaos all over the news, fighting against the police, drunken white yobs, complete idiots, just causing carnage, and then that gets broadcast again all over the world. So that's the chaos and that's the division part done. All right, so what we're on to next is order. So order through chaos. So this is the next step. Division's created already, and they've done that through manipulation of emotion. They're now going to create an illusion that the authority is taking back control. Again, this is there to manipulate the majority of peaceful people to return back to normality, to come away from protesting peacefully and just go back to their everyday jobs, if you like. They're giving them the impression that order has been reinstated, even though the damage has already been done and society is once again divided between minorities and the majority. In reality, the only division required is simply right and left. Now, these tactics, they're not new. They happen time and again throughout history if you just do a bit of research. Normally before a political event like a general election, which is happening in the US this year, or, in my opinion, if people are calling for a second referendum on Brexit, if they can create the division now or popularity for either side, they might get a better result, which hopefully they won't get a second referendum. But again, so this is to create the popularity, as I've said. It's effectively manipulating the way you're going to vote and therefore manipulating the result of that vote. Anyway, so to summarise, is the UK racist? No, I don't think it is. Is there racism within the UK? Yes. However, we've gotten to the point where systemic racism is being understood and individual racism from the vast minority of people only. Hopefully, my opinion will show you that this issue is being politically hijacked to push the agenda of division for political popularity or gain. Now, I understand that many of you are going to disagree with me, but as I've said, it's based from my perspective and experience, and I very much look forward to hearing other opinions from other people based on their experiences. And I'll sign off by saying I think the only way to fight against division is to unite. Okay, thanks.